Hello, everybody. Let's begin as we continue from the last video, which was Exodus 9. Now we have Exodus chapter 10. And said Yahweh, that is singular in essence, right there, the S, okay? Singular, right? Masculine, singular, right? But Yahweh does get applied to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So even though it's Yahweh, singular, it's still the entire Trinity because this name does get applied to all three of them. Okay, but that is right there the name of God, Yahweh. Okay, it's talking about it from a singular perspective, kind of like the same thing as if you were to go Kevin's spirit, Kevin's soul, and Kevin's body is all still Kevin. Same principle. Okay, from a singular perspective. So when someone says, "Hey, Kevin," you're talking about the fact that I'm still a Trinity, but you're talking about it from a singular perspective. Yahweh says to Moses, "Go in to Pharaoh, for I've hardened his heart." Right? In other words, Pharaoh has chosen to harden his heart from the start, but I will use his hardened heart for my purposes. And the hearts of his servants as well that are hardened, that I may show the signs of mine, these before him, my signs. I will show all my miracles, that you may tell in the hearing of your son and your son and the sons of your son, right? So your sons and grandsons. The word may references that, yes, Yahweh is telling Moses what to do, but Moses still has free will to say no if he wants. Not a smart choice if he does, but nevertheless, he still has free will. The mighty things I have done to your descendants, your sons and the grandsons of you in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that you may know that I am who? Yahweh. Again, from a singular perspective, I, the one God we serve. There is one God, one Savior, one Lord. Okay. So came in Moses and Aaron to Pharaoh. So both of them came in. Remember, because Aaron is his mouthpiece. Moses says something. Aaron goes, "Okay, here is what Moses said." Interpreted. And he says to Pharaoh and said to him, "Thus says Yahweh God," singular and plural. Okay, so how would I break the Yahweh God down to you real quick? As I said before, Yahweh is the same as me saying Kevin, which refers to my spirit, my body, and my soul, while God is plural. That would be said differently, right? Whereas in one essence, if I say Kevin, I'm implying all three of who I am. Whereas God is implying just Kevin in general, Kevin, which also still includes Kevin's spirit, Kevin's soul, and Kevin's body. And as you see, that's why plural, singular, plural. One perspective, another perspective. One viewpoint, another viewpoint. Of the Hebrews, right? Yahweh God of the Hebrews. So verses that would make these make sense. Yahweh, from a singular perspective, speaks to the statement of, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." Whereas Elohi, for God here, which is a variation of Elohim, speaks to, there are three that bear witness in heaven, and these three are one. Specifically, there are three that bear witness in heaven, and these three are one. Okay? Even though they are individualized, they still are one God of the Hebrews. How long will you refuse to humble yourself? So what is Pharaoh not doing? Bowing the knee. He does not want to bow the knee before me. Let go my people that may serve, right? Because even though if Pharaoh does let go of the Israelites still have free will to serve him or not serve him. Or else, what will happen? If you refuse, so there's conditional. If you choose to refuse to let go of my people, behold, I will bring tomorrow locusts, bugs, into your territory, and they shall cover the face of the earth, so that no one will be able to see the earth, and they shall eat the residue. Now, this earth is the ground, basically, right? The earth, ground. The earth, the land, the territory, okay? And they shall eat the residue of what is left, which remains from you, from hell, from the hell, and they shall eat every tree. That's how about hell came, right? They shall eat every tree which grows up for you out of the field, and they shall fill your houses and the houses of all your servants, and the houses of all Egypt, which neither have seen your fathers, nor your fathers since the day that they were on the earth. In other words, there has never been a collection of animals like that have done that to this day. And this he turned and went from Pharaoh, Moses and Aaron, and said the servants of Pharaoh to him, until when shall be this man to us a snare? Right? In other words, Pharaoh, why is this man continually being a problem to us? A snare. Okay? What is this? A bait, a lure, a snare. Let go the men. So even his own servants is like, hey, let the people go for goodness sakes. Let's stop all this nonsense of what's occurring to us. That they may serve, again, free will implied, Yahweh their God, singular and plural. Do not yet, you know, that destroyed is Egypt. In other words, look around, Pharaoh. Egypt is decimated with all the previous things that have happened to us. And now you, just because of your pride, you want to bring more? So we're brought again, and we're brought again, Moses and Aaron. I tried to say Moses and Pharaoh at the same time. Hello. Moses and Aaron to Pharaoh. Right? So this was summoned. And he said to them, go serve Yahweh your God. Singular and plural. Still one God, by the way. Who that is going? And said Moses, with your young and our old we will go. Right? With our sons and daughters, with our flocks and our herds, we will go for a feast to Yahweh. Feast. Yummy foods to Yahweh. We must hold, and said to them, had better be Yahweh with you when I let you go, you and your little ones. Beware, for evil is before the face. In other words, hey, Moses, Aaron, are you sure you want to go wandering around? Because you do know there's a lot of dangerous places out there. So your Yahweh God better be with you, or else you're in huge danger. Not so, go now, you who are men, and serve Yahweh, for that is what you desired, and were driven out they from the presence of Pharaoh. That would be forcefully removed. But let's check just to make sure. Right? Expel, cast out, drive away. Okay. And said Yahweh, singular, which still encompasses the Trinity, to Moses, stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come upon the land of Egypt and eat every herb, right, plants of the land, all that has left the hail. Basically, anything that the hail had not touched and burned up. That would be the hail that came before. So stretched out Moses his rod over the land of Egypt. And Yahweh brought an wind east on the land. Now, anybody who doesn't know anything about science, locusts do kind of flutter around on the wind. Okay, and that is the same word as ruach, because ruach is 3 different words. It's used for wind, breath, mind, or spirit. Right. Now look at, you can see all the different applications. A spirit, an animation, a vigor, right? Patience, anger. If we scroll down, a disembodied being, right? A spirit that has no body. Okay, so different applications depending on the context. So in this case, it's wind. Okay, a wind east in the land all the day, that and all that night, morning. When it was, and wind east brought what? So the wind brought locusts, and went up the locusts over all the land of Egypt, and rested on all the territory of Egypt. They were severe, very. Previously, no, there had been such locusts as they and after them. So there had never been that kind of suffering that occurred, nor shall there be such. For they covered all the face of the earth. Again, this is territory, not the planet Earth. This would be country, territory. I can't move. I can't. Sorry, I can't. So I'm using my country, territory, land, right? Ground, soil. All the plain country. These would be the application of earth there. So that was darkened the land, and they ate every herb, all the herbs of the land, and all the fruit, not just herbs, but the fruit as well, of the trees, which had left the hail. So this was like anything that was not touched by the hail or destroyed by the hail, right? So God is decimating Egypt. So not there remained anything green on the trees, nothing, or any plants of the field, nothing, throughout all the land of Egypt. And in haste, right, Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned, which he's repeatedly said, by the way. He recognizes he has sinned. I have sinned against Yahweh, right? Yahweh, right there. So this part right here, from this mark, so I will highlight this part right here that you see highlighted. That's Yahweh. This would be against, okay? Because you read right to left, and that's how they do it. And as you've seen, that's what I'm doing, reading right to left. Yahweh, your God, singular and plural, okay? Elohim, your God. And against you, therefore, and forgive, please, my sins, my sin, right? Hatati, sin or sinfulness. Only this once, and entreat Yahweh, your God, singular and plural, that he may take away from me only death, this. So he went out from Pharaoh, that would be Moses and Aaron, and entreated, that would be, what is entreated? Let's see. Pray, supplicate, right? Unto Yahweh, and turned Yahweh a wind west, mighty. So now how does Yahweh remove the bugs? Same thing, a wind, ruach. And very, which took away the locusts and blew them into the Red Sea. Not there remained locust one in all the territory. God keeps his word of Egypt. But what happened? Hardened Yahweh the heart of Pharaoh. Yet again, he's like, I'm not done. Yahweh is like, I'm not done. I still got stuff I have to show. Of Pharaoh. And not he did let, so Pharaoh did not let the people go. So guess what comes next? The ninth plague. And said Yahweh to Moses, stretch out your hand toward the heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, and even which may be felt darkness. So stretched out Moses toward the heaven, and there was darkness in all the land of Egypt. For how long? 3 days. Now, anybody who knows science knows that that is scientifically impossible. That would mean the sun did not rise for 3 days. Okay? So something supernatural had to have happened. Now, things scientifically that this could mean would be it was cloudy for 3 days. That would block out the sunlight, right? Darkness. This would be maybe an eclipse. Although I don't know of any eclipse that would last for 3 days. Not to say that that's not possible to happen. Then possible. But whatever this darkness is, so let's look at the word darkness. Does mean darkness or obscurity, right? Whatever this is, another way that this might be is a volcano erupting, putting ash in the air, which would then block out the sun. And not they did see one another. So that's how dark it was. They couldn't even see one another. So this would be the visibility was so poor. Did not rise anyone from the place that they were in for 3 days. But all the sons of Israel had light in their dwelling. So supernatural is what's going on. Because Israel, the area that Israel's in, they actually have light. They can see one another. But only in Egypt was there mass darkness. And called Pharaoh to Moses and said, Go, serve Yahweh. Only your flocks and your herds let be kept back. Also your little ones let go with you. But said Moses, also you must give us sacrifices and burnt offerings. In other words, we're not going to go out in the desert when we have nothing to sacrifice. That we may sacrifice to Yahweh our God, singular and plural. And also our livestock shall go with us, not shall be left a hoof, for some of them we must take to serve Yahweh, our God, singular and plural. And even we not do know how we must serve Yahweh, that's the name of God right there, Yahweh, reading right to left, Yahweh, YHWH, Yahweh, until we arrive there and hardened Yahweh the heart of Pharaoh, and not he would let go. God's like, hey, I'm not done. And said to him, Pharaoh, get away from me, take heed yourself to yourself, no more, and see my face, for in the day you see my face, you shall die. And said Moses, well, you have spoken, never again, I will see more of your face. So at this point, Pharaoh's like, I don't even want to see you coming before me, because every time you come before me, some new catastrophe happens. So now Pharaoh is pissed. Nothing he's doing, no matter how many times he's doing it, is making anything occur to stop what God is doing. And he is angry. And he's like, I don't even want to see you coming into my presence again. Okay? So how will I relate this story to you guys? Well, very simply put, okay? Very simply put, it's like this. You can try to deceive man, and you might get away with it, but God will ultimately find you out. But you cannot deceive God. And we see this. Pharaoh continues to go, I'm going to try to trick God. I'm going to try to go, okay, go ask God to stop this, and then when God stops this, I'm going to harden my heart. Or Pharaoh's going to, or Yahweh's going to harden my heart. Now, we did look up last time that the hardening of the heart was that Pharaoh started it, and God simply said, okay, I'm going to use it to my purposes. Okay. Now that that's happening, we can try to understand how that applies to us. Okay. We make a plan to trick God, but God goes, okay, I'm going to teach you a lesson. You have one plan, guess what? My plan is bigger. You have one idea, guess what? My ideas are bigger. You have a thought, guess what? My thought is bigger. And we see this in our life. We have a certain plan. Even I can say this. When I had planned years ago to try to manipulate God and use his, I guess you would call it his divine programs that he orchestrated to stay warm and out of the cold, which would be a drug program that I was using at the time. God said, okay, Kevin, you go use my drug program and pretend like you have a addiction to drug at that time when you didn't. Okay, well, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to harden your heart, and I'm going to use your situation to fulfill what I want, which is to save you, Kevin. And that's exactly what he did. I went about to use the mission's drug rehabilitation program just to stay warm, to manipulate God, in other words. And I own up to that fact. And here we go. We have God coming along and saying, no, Kevin, I'm going to save you. I'm going to make you a real believer, which is exactly what he did. So that is how that might apply to you. If you try to trick God, it's going to fall apart. You can try all you want, but guess what? He's going to make sure it doesn't happen the way you want it to. And even if you do happen to get away with something on this planet, you still got to face the eternal consequences of your actions. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. And I will see you soon, because this is for yesterday, so I will see you tomorrow. For the next, this will be, let's see, tomorrow will be Tuesday here. So I'll see you Tuesday for the next YouTube installment.